I'm your host, and I'm a certified protective coating specialist for the last 15 years. You can't hear? Can you guys hear okay? Mario, you can hear?
Yeah, I can hear. Yes.
Okay. Kim's going to get back in again. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll wait for her to get back in again. So let's start over. Welcome to this live session of Coatings Talk. I'm your host, Jim Kunkel. I'm a certified protective coating specialist, and for the last 15 years, I've worked in the global protective coatings industry. Here on Coatings Talk, you'll get the latest information and industry best practices for the global protective coatings industry, and also the corrosion industry as well. This live broadcast and all content and materials produced and distributed by Coatings Talk and myself does not represent or reflect any positions or opinions of Axo Nobel International. During this live broadcast, you'll have the opportunity to post comments that I can include into this episode. And I'm so very grateful to have on Coatings Talk Kim Scott with Maui Powder Works. And also, she's the host of the Powder Coater podcast. And Mario Casino. Do I say that right, Mario?
Quiseno. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Close
It's okay.
enough, right?
It's okay like that. Yep.
Who is a powder coating subject matter expert with extensive practical experience and knowledge. Kim and Mario, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
It's great to have you. Now, before we get into our conversation on powder coating best practices, tips, and techniques for a flawless finish, let's do a proper introduction on both of you. Kim, if you could please tell us about Maui Powder Works and, importantly, what the followers and subscribers from your podcast can gain from listening and also watching on YouTube.
Yeah, I think we're streaming to my channel right now too. Yeah, at least we're trying. I'll have to check back later.
It does show that. I do see the extra channels on here. So
that's awesome.
That's good.
Thank you, Jim, for having me. And Mario, it's so good to finally meet you.
Finally, yes.
Hat tip to Maui Powder Works. Thank you for wearing your swag today. Maui Powder Works, we kind of started as a side hustle. We were already in the paint coating industry here on Maui, which doesn't seem like it would be very much, but it was actually. We used to go into vacation rentals and upgrade their furniture by refinishing it and stuff. And, it's really hard to get, timely pieces. And a lot of times things were one color and they wanted to switch it to a different one. So we learned how to create wood effects on, different kinds of whitewash pieces. We had a bazillion of that back in the 90s. So from there, Ross, through our interactions with our regular painting customers, he was asked to do a lanai furniture set, an outdoor furniture set. And he's like, yeah, sure, I can paint that up for you. He goes, no, I don't want that. I want powder coating. And all of a sudden that, Ross just went,
I remember that story.
Mm-hmm. So it was the journey for us. And so slowly, he just started to get a name for himself. And then in 2010, we just kind of went, okay, we're ready to do this full time. The podcast came about gradually. It wasn't like anybody heard about a podcast or was doing any podcasting back in 2010. But I did start a blog because I was thinking, well, if Ross is going to do this, then what am I going to do? He's effectively retired us out of the painting business, right? So thanks to a friend of mine named Danielle, who's been on our show many times. She's a marketing genius. And she said, oh, just blog, and next thing you know, I started blogging and the blog just went global. And that's when, when you start to see like the purview of the world, so to speak, especially with podcasting now, because you can be anywhere, anytime and stuff, it really kind of changed my perspective about Maui Powder Works, because we've always had the mission of you know, partnering with people that are passionate about performance finishes. And it's funny because it doesn't matter what we do, whether we're blogging or we're podcasting or we're refinishing somebody's rims or architectural project, that mission carries through with everything we do, and even carries through to our new launch of the patina of our patinas and powder lux. So there you have it. That's the whole story in 5 minutes.
Well, you know, the thing with your podcast too, you don't have to be into powder coating or into the industry, because you cover a lot of different topics, you know, and that's the thing to look at.
Yes.
So I encourage everyone, you know, after this broadcast ends, to go to a podcast provider. You have a YouTube channel, you can go check out the videos or listen to the audio or both. Because there's a lot of topics that you do cover that are not, you know, exclusively all the time 100% for powder coating. So I think that's what
there are a lot of struggles in our industry.
Yeah.
There seems to be no end to it, right? It just evolves into something else. I think for me, you know, my perspective is more along the side of business and running a business, you know, but, you know, for the most part, I just want to get the shy individuals that are experts in their field, you know, to just share their story and share their expertise so that others can learn and grow in knowledge, because there is so much to learn about this industry. It's, like I said, it's ever evolving, right? So, you know, it is more business oriented, but, you know, I think that if you will allow me, at the end of the show, I would like to share a very special announcement regarding our next level with the podcast and stuff. So
Great.
yeah.
Excellent. Some breaking news. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Now with Mario, some viewers might remember back in September of 2023,
Yes.
Mario and I did a joint technical virtual presentation with the Powder Coating Conclave in India. And that was a very good technical conference. And we were so gracious and grateful that the organizers allowed us to attend it virtually. And, you know, we got a lot out of the conference itself. And then also it gave a good opportunity for Mario and I to kind of interact with, you know, a market that, you know, we typically would not interact in any given day. So Mario, why don't you go ahead? Let's let the viewers know. There might be a couple viewers out there that might not know who you are. If you could provide your professional and your technical background, and also talk about your passion for powder.
Powder coating. Okay. Yes, Kim, it's a pleasure to be here with you. I know you have invited me to your show, but I mean, my English is not pretty good. But I mean, we are going to do it.
You're going to come on the show soon enough.
So, okay, my name is Mario Quiseno. I am a powder coating applicator here in Canada. My background is I'm a mechanical engineer. I am from Colombia. And what else? I started to work as a loader in a powder coating painting line, just loading and loading and loading. And this when my boss asked me, "Hey, why don't you apply as a painter and as applicator?" And I say, "Yeah, but I don't know anything about it. No, I will train you." And then I start to fall in love with all of this. I mean, for me, paint was just liquid, no these dry finish processes. So for me, it was kind of new, and I started to read and study, and suddenly, you know, I start to get a lot of knowledge, try to find somebody who knows a lot about powder coating, and I got into Kim's channel in YouTube, and I started to listen to her podcast, really interesting podcast. It's more related to business, but I mean, between the conversation, they give us some. They gave like some tips that I was just writing down and things like that. Yeah, but yeah, I fell in love. I really fell in love. I have made two courses of powder coating, one with the all school, all college in Alberta. It was online, and another one in Udemy. But I'm planning to study like 101, 202. Now I become a member of the Chemical Coaters Association International. And then thanks to the but this is the best part. So I started to feel this passion about powder coating, so I started to write articles about it, like professional articles. So I was taking English lessons. One of the classes was writing, and then suddenly everything matched and I started to write articles in English. And thanks to that, I met Jim. Jim read one of my articles and he said, "Hey, why don't you participate here in a podcast?" And I say, "Okay, no problem." So after that, some guy from the Spanish community from Mexico, he said that they asked me to write articles in Spanish. And I say, "Hey, I don't have experience to writing in Spanish, but let's try." So now on, I have like 20 articles written, like two in English, and also this participation in the international conference about powder coating in India. I just contacted them. I like the same process with Kim and Jim, like interacting through the through internet, and they invite me to give a presentation. Of course, I told them, "Look, I don't have a lot of experience. I have been working as a powder coating applicator for 2 years, and the rest is what I have studied." And they say, "Okay, why don't you try to find a friend who is going to be an specialist, and then you present together." And then Jim said, I am in," and we presented, and it was pretty good, pretty good. It was
I
pretty good.
love that. I love that story. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, just for the audience, the information that I will cover is based on my own research. It doesn't have to do anything with my actual employee, not even their opinion or nothing. Just my own research, watching Kim and Jim's videos and reading some books and so on.
But you
Yeah,
see, Jim, this is what I love about powder coating.
Yeah.
The passion.
Yeah.
And it's about taking all these people that are in our industry and their passion for it and connecting it with modalities that
Yeah.
allow others to learn and grow. This is just beautiful to hear.
Yeah, and the one thing Mario didn't talk about, he's also a technical content writer for infocorrosion.com,
Before
which is a
corrosion,
Spanish
yes.
language publication. It's very, very great publication. So, also too, after the broadcast, check out infocorrosion.com. My background, what's interesting is I'm in industrial coatings right now, but prior to this, prior to what I'm doing now, I was into powder coating. I worked for a steel service center in the Pittsburgh market where I'm based out of. And in roughly around 2008 timeframe, the company had taken over a fabricator that had roughly about a 700 plus foot powder coat line. And it was, okay, now we're into not only being a steel service center, but we can have product fabricated. We can also have it powder coated. And then also we're going to be going out there for powder coating jobs as well. So, that's kind of my tie-in with the powder coating side. The thing that I find when, you talk to people about different type of, coatings that are out there, ways to protect, assets and structures, and it could be anything. And the one thing I think that probably a lot of people don't appreciate is that powder coating has some major advantages over liquid coatings and other
Yes.
coating methods. Kim, you being a provider of the service of powder coating, what are some of the advantages of powder coating, let's say, over liquid coating? Not to pit them against each other, but what are some of the big advantages with powder coating?
Well, mainly powder coating encapsulates the metal, right? So, aside from the usual no drip, perfect finish. I mean, that's, I think, what coders and end customers are really looking for, right, is the perfection of it all, right?
Yeah.
And you know this because, like most people, you start with painting metal, right, and then you realize, whether you're an applicator or you're someone that's receiving the painted metal, you realize how how difficult it is.
Difficult. Yes.
It could literally sit there and look, you know been sitting there for days drying, and on the outside it looks dry, and then you go to load it up in the truck or deliver it or whatever, and then there's your fingernail or your
Yes.
thumb imprint because it's still drying
Still
underneath.
fresh, still drying.
I
Yes.
mean, that is the biggest, and that's the number one question that people ask too, is how soon can I put this into service, or how soon can I pick it up? How soon can I take it to my auto tech? How soon can I install it? And it's like, when I hear that, on the phone, and the sigh of relief, right? Because everybody's in a rush to get it installed or do something. They've got this timeline that they have to keep. And that's another beauty of powder coating, right? Is no matter, even if we are, because we're end of the line, we're finishers, right?
Yeah.
And even when we're on a tight time schedule, if you're good with your processes, like Ross I turn around and I look back in the shop and he's just sitting there, waiting for, he moves so quickly that you really, I mean, you could move on to the next project if you wanted to and stay busy, but literally, like, he can do a whole rack in a short amount of time, right? So the beauty of the speed of it all too is just another great aspect.
Yeah. It's like the piece is going to be ready in 45 minutes. I
Yeah,
mean, the customer can go and
you look
drink
like a
a coffee,
superhero,
and then
right?
yeah, that surprised me a lot. I mean, when I started to work in the powder coating line, it was surprised me, like the piece goes to. I work in a conveyor line, so it
Yeah,
goes to the pre-treatment, and they dries. Then we apply the powder. They go to the oven, and boom, 38, 45 minutes, and the piece is ready to use. You don't
yeah,
have to wait more.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a great point about, kind of with the speed of, again, proper application. When we're going to cover we're definitely going to be covering the process in which it's done. I think for me is that you get the protection, but also too, a lot of people who are going to be powder coating they're really in tune with the aesthetics, the look and the feel. And Kim, you have a patina effect line that you have now.
yeah.
Talk about something like with patinas. Are those gaining in popularity? Are they, are you starting to see people saying, "Hey, I want a patina finish"?
We're just getting launched, but yes, I mean, I've known all along, right? So, like,
Uh-huh.
behind me here, I have framed our featured article in Powder Coating Tough magazine, and uh, a lot of it is just getting the word out, because the architectural industry is huge. It's 80 billion. So, like, how do we find, in all of that noise, how do we find this message that we want to deliver, right? So I think we'll get there, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
It's, you know, as I'm, doing my day-to-day work here as the office manager for a small job shop, at the same time, around the world in the UK, we had a powder coater take our finishes
Oh,
to, just this week, to the Surface Design Show, which I don't know much about it, but I think it's huge.
mhm.
And so, I mean, we're celebrating these milestones kind of quietly in the
Good.
background. Um, but yeah, Ross ended up making samples for them, and they handed them out. And so far, we heard that it was just a huge hit. So we've never been to a show or any kind of expo yet. So it's nice to see like us being behind the scenes and helping other coders that are already there, ready and have access to those architecturals and architectural marketplaces and people that will get us out there in front. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
I think what if you're in industrial coatings, you're in powder coatings, a lot of what typically happens is people don't know what they don't know, and it's really coming down to
Exactly.
educating and informing everybody, and then also helping them gain an understanding of why it's important. Because you can have applications in even in an industrial location where it makes sense to really bring to bear liquid coatings, linings, powder coating. There's even I'm going to be doing some specials when it talks about metallizing and things like that. So there's so many things that you can really kind of bring to an owner or to an architect, but you really have to educate and inform them, and
yeah.
help them gain an understanding of
Yeah.
what can be, what's the possibility here.
And the good thing of powder coating that I notice is like there are no secrets. Like everybody wants to help everybody. That is why I started to write articles in Spanish, because I want the Spanish the Hispanic community to be together. Like the information in English. I mean, everybody's sharing how to paint a Faraday cage, why it's important to have a good grounding, why it's important to have a good pre-treatment without talking about brands. I noticed that in Kim's podcasts, like everybody's sharing their knowledge, like everybody wants that the community is going to grow and to do the things better. Yeah,
Yeah, and
for
if I
me
could
it's
add
really
to that, I
important.
mean, some of the frustrations that I have uh, as a podcaster, like it's more about expertise, not about selling something. And I think that majority of information that's being uh, driven or derived is from vendors already in the industry that have something to sell, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's nothing objective about it, uh, and I'm looking for objective information, expertise, and stuff like that. And I think that in hopefully we can enter the marketplace with more of a less salesy type of educational process and platform than something that it's a free weekend 2-day course, and then they want me to buy
Yeah.
this oven or this equipment or whatever. And I just want to kind of break that. I want to I
Yeah.
hope the industry needs to know that it needs to break away from that, at least on some level, right?
That's a
Yeah, but
very good
that's
point.
good. It's true. Yeah, lately all the webinars are just trying to show their product, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's not good. I mean, I prefer, like Kim is going to do, like tips to paint better, because in powder coating is nothing is written. For instance, when I am going to paint a Faraday cage, I used rework settings, and my coworker use another settings. The results are the same. So it's, I don't know,
Yeah, there's
powder
not
coating.
one static process, I think is what you're saying.
Exactly.
And yeah, and
Exactly.
every job shop is different.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's like I said earlier in a podcast that was just released recently, was like, you don't know until you don't know, right? Until you
Yeah.
Yeah.
know, right? And I think that was a perspective that Ross ended up, when he was teaching some, he had to go to the mainland and to the UK to teach our specialty exotic finishes. And every time he goes, he's always looking around for what it is that they do that's maybe different than what he does. And there is there's going to be a uniqueness to every plant and every factory,
Yeah.
every job shop, just because of just either the type of product that they're powder coating or the level of expertise that they have. the type of coatings that they're putting on. I mean, there's so many variables there, which makes it exciting. It makes powder coating exciting. But he kind of tries to pick up a tip every now and then, to kind of further his own mastery. There's always something to learn.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're so true about that. So let's go ahead and let's kind of open up and talk about the best practices side of it. But before we really get into that there are two types of powder coatings. There's thermoset and thermoplastic. And a thermoset, it refers to the process where the coating undergoes a chemical cross-linking reaction, during the curing. And we were talking about liquid coatings, how they cure versus powder coating, which is totally different, but in a way sometimes a little similar. It permanently seals. It permanently.
I think Jim is
There are
frozen.
different. Oh, am I back? Okay, here we go. There are different types of thermoset powder coating, such as epoxy, polyester, acrylic, polyurethane, and each have different properties and applications. Now, thermoplastic refers to the process where the coating melts and it flows onto the substrate when it's heated. And then with those, they can also be remelted and reshaped when heated again. So when you're looking at thermoplastic powder coatings, you're looking at polyethylene, polypropylene, nylon, polyester, polyvinyl chloride, and each with really different properties and applications. Hopefully I did justice on the definitions.
I mean, it's kind of newish, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And there is another type of powder coating that is the UV curing, that are powders that cure at really low temperature.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they are just putting their UV curings in thermosets or thermoplastics. I don't know, but
yeah,
I just read that there are 3 types now for some people.
And the latest two are kind of the ones we're talking about now. I think that from what I've read, because we don't do that here, we're pretty much thermoset only.
Me too.
Yeah, that's what I'm used to.
Yeah. And that's what most people are. If they know anything about powder coating, that's what they're used to hearing. There are some coaters out there. And what I've read about these thermoset is they can apply it much thicker for the, which is ideal for extreme outdoor and longer needed surfaces and color through playgrounds and benches in, outdoor benches in a public space, could be like stanchions for, a rail or a guardrail kind of thing. I could see a lot of that. And in addition to that, in furthering, now that they have this science, right, this chemistry available, and powder coaters are succeeding in it, they're now reaching out into plastic bottles and recycling and like that whole circular model where we're taking plastic bottles that we drink water out of and then taking that and repurposing it and upcycling it, or back into something more it really changes the dynamic of the thinking and the mindset of just a linear model to a more circular model.
And it also can help tie in if people have green initiatives or they're looking at LEED or other things. So, that's the other aspect of it too. So let's go ahead and we're going to talk about the coating process and its main components. Mario, you and I have had this conversation because no matter what part of the coatings industry that you work in, the surface preparation is so important.
It's really,
could you kind of go through some of the steps on how to kind of prepare a surface that goes into a powder coating line?
Of course, yeah. There are like 3 types of preparation. There is mechanical, actually 2, mechanical and chemical. And the chemical is like you can do it manually or you can do it, automatically in these machines that are like from 3 to 8 stages, and each stage has a chemical to prepare the surface for the powder coating application. So, and the mechanical is like sandblasting, sanding, and all those kinds, like you prepare the surface to be painted. Yeah. So there are like the type of surface preparation. In my case, I know about the 5 stages equipments to prepare the surface to be painted, but that's all. The rest is because I have read something about it. And actually, Kim, I forgot to tell you. So I'm making some courses about nanotechnology.
Really?
Nanotechnology. There are particles that it's no. There are small, like this a hair, one piece of air, and they are training. They are calling smart particles, because the particle, as soon as touches the surface of the substrate,
Yeah.
start to clean it, but nanometrically. That means the piece is not going to have any oxide, anything on the surface. It's
I'd like to know more
completely
about that. That's
clean.
curious. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I started to read about nanotechnology, and then they are in, and also there was an Indian guy in the conference. I forgot the name now, and he was explaining uh, how they are using nanotechnology in the pretreatments and the chemicals that they are using. They are using. They are not now adding chrome phosphates to the chemicals,
Right.
and it was really, really, really surprised to me about that, because there are just particles that you cannot see, but the particles are smart. I mean,
Oh wow.
for
So
me,
you're
that's
saying it
crazy.
acts as a pre-coating, like a pre-coating while
Yes,
it's
actually,
etching.
no,
So it
and
etches and
also,
it pre-coats.
no, also in some of the powder coatings nowadays, they have nanotechnology now. That, like, it's like, oh, well, nanotechnology types are three: dimension
Yeah.
0, dimension 1, and dimension 2. And powder coating is using all of them. Dimension 0 is particles that are single particles. Dimensions 1 is like nanotubes, and
Yep.
the electrons are going through that pipes or that tubes. And dimension 2 is like layers.
Yes.
So powder now, the powder coating industry, no, how can I say, the guys who produce the powder, they are implementing this to them, to that.
Well, let me tell you something.
And
Us girls know about that kind of stuff already. It's called hydrating primer, and you
oh,
put it
yeah,
on
yeah,
your
they are using
face.
in cosmetics too. They are using in cosmetics too.
You know, if you can break things down, you're talking about nanoparticles and stuff like that. And they get, like a lot of times people go, oh, like, oh, am I going to understand what he's talking about?
Yeah.
And the thing is when you break it down into something as simple as, oh, when I go to put my makeup on and I want to fill in my fine lines, you know, you use a hydrating primer, So when you look at it like that, it simplifies it obviously to a more simple, hilarious version. I'm just bringing in some comedic, stuff right now, but like, I mean, when you think about what it does, right? And you
Yeah,
think about it in simpler terms, it sounds actually really ideal, and only makes the coatings want to last longer. I mean, from
exactly.
what I'm hearing, I think that, what we do a lot here is restoration. And that for us, pre-treatment is everything, because, something will come in rusty and then, they want it done and they don't want that rust to come back. And it's like, Well, it depends on how rusty it is, right? If it's already falling off in your hands when you get the piece, there's only going to be so much that we can do, right? Because that
Exactly.
rust is a virus and it's embedded in the metal.
Yeah.
If it's surface rust and mill scale rust, that's not so bad, because the products we use for pretreatment here, once they're blasted, there's still some rust microscopically. You see white metal, you see it. It looks pretty. It looks like there's no rust on there, but really, you still need to do your pretreatment. And I think that in terms of some of the smaller custom coaters that are out there that are just getting into the business, it's an easy one to overlook. But it's so pretreatment is literally everything
Exactly.
to a perfect finish and a longer lasting finish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as much as you talk about rust too, if you're getting something that might be exposed to the environment, it has biological elements on it as well, and getting rid of that is important as well, so that you're not going over a dirty substrate or a
Just because you
contaminated. Yeah,
just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there, right?
Exactly.
very good, very good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for me, sorry, Jim. No,
Oh,
for
go ahead.
me, pretreatment is one of the keys to have a really smooth, nice finish coat, and it's going to last a lot,
a long
because
time.
with the pretreatment, the chemicals are going to. I mean, they convert the substrate like in a magnet with the grounding, of course, and so the powder is going to stick or sinterize to the substrate, so it's going to be smooth,
And you'll have less flaws in the finish or have to
Mhm.
deal with outgassing as much, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, you get rid of those contaminants, right? That's really what prepping the surface is all about.
Exactly.
So we have Ross with us in spirit because Kim's got him working right now.
He's probably taking a nap.
And the thing with Ross, amazing in the skill in the trade, he could do a master class and really, when it comes to application, really kind of show the magic behind powder coating. Kim, when we talk about, the application part of it, you have customers who are coming with existing product material. Maybe they've got something fabricated you're working on, and it could be multiple different types of components. It does automotive to something that's outside, like a park bench or a sign or anything like that. How important is it when it comes to the application, having the right equipment, the right technique? And Mario, I know you can talk about technique as well, but also too, to make sure that you have that skill level in the applicators that are working.
Yeah, I mean, people bring us problems, right?
Yeah.
Every customer brings us a problem, right? A problem we have to solve. And I don't know. I guess it's just the way he approaches the problem to find that solution. And then, because he's so good at it, he can cut. I don't want to say he cuts steps out, because he's still pre-treating it, but he's bringing down that restoration job to a least common denominator, right? To simplify processes and methodologies so that you're not wasting time.
Exactly.
Right. And that is really the mastery that the level I think that you're talking about is, he's managed to master the time. Yeah, exactly. And it's, I think that every powder coating company anywhere in the world, it always has to deal with that, right? Because the more time you can save, the more productivity and the more profitability and scaling you can do. And so you're constantly, having to battle that. And then you add employees in there, and you got to keep them busy and stuff like that. And then how do you do that when you have, for an example, you have, two sets of rims, you have a deadline on an architectural project or a new fabrication that needs to be done by a certain, you know what I mean? And then you have, all this other little in-betweeny stuff that just is nagging you in boxes and ordering powder and stuff like that. How do you manage that? Sometimes we've been kind of for the most part, the production and the workflow seems to work out for us. Like, it just seems like this guy, we had a little bit of hecticness last week, but we have been caught in times of, I don't know what it was. It was just like the types of jobs that were kind of coming in and nothing seemed to work, right? It was just like,
Oops.
it can, it's easy when you're doing parts contracting for, you've got this guy's parts and then you got another guy's parts. And then it's easy to manage that too. I'm sure there are problems within that even as well, but how do you manage something when you're in a job shop that is so versatile, right?
Exactly.
The versatility that can actually cause problems in production and turnaround times, stuff like that,
Yeah, it's not the same to apply epoxy than a polyester. Everything changed.
Yeah,
I don't know
there's
why,
that. Yeah.
but it's if you pass too fast, it's light, or if you pass too slow, it's heavy. Yeah, it's I understand what Kim's saying, and yeah,
it really comes down to making sure that the craft workers you have on the teams, they do understand technique, also proper equipment setting, and that they fully really understand, because they have to really kind of get in tune with that whole process. And if they're not in tune with it, everything's out of sync, and that can cause problems. I remember times where we would have to take Scotch-Brite pads to do some repair, let's say, and go back at things and things like that. So you want to make sure you can deal with it up front, that at the end you're going to have lesser, when you're doing your quality control, before it goes to the customer, you're going to be able to hopefully minimize or eliminate any type of issues that you're going to have. And Mario, you were talking about, I wanted to move on to curing. There's different ways where chemical reaction and the cross-linking that happens, and then also you're dealing with UV lights to kind of melt and harden the powder itself. In your experience with the cure, how application is, we talk about preparation being super important, application is important, but how critical when it comes to that cure, if you're putting something through an oven, how much of importance is that process?
Yeah, actually, yes. It's really important because the oven has to be ready at the right temperature to receive the piece of the substrate in order to put it there, because there are some like defects or something that you can see if you don't if you take the piece before the time curing, or if the oven is cold, they are going to appear like a dry paint, or sometimes you are going to see like it's not properly cured, and so the it's not the shining, the what is the word for that, like you don't see it like a smooth in a nice way. You see like
Orange peel.
like no orange peel, but more like mate, and you wanted the other
Right.
what is the opposite of mate? I don't remember. Shine, no.
Gloss.
You're talking about gloss?
Glass, yeah, like glass. Exactly. Sorry, I was thinking in Spanish. So the glass, if you take or the piece before completing the time to cure, is going to lose the glass. Or if you leave it there into the oven, the piece is going to be overcooked. So if you are going to paint white, Yeah, and if the piece is overcooked, you are going to see kind of brownish in some parts of the piece. So cure is really, really
Yeah.
important.
White's the worst in terms of curing. Even when we've, and I think it has something to do with the white titanium in white, right? And this is a problem with paints too. It's not. It's something to do with that. I'm not sure. I'm not the chemist. I could be wrong, but we have on several occasions had to clear coat over a white.
Oh, yeah.
Just to, and at the risk of yellowing it,
Mm-hmm.
by putting a clear coat on there, because the white did not harden, even though we cured it to temp and we followed all the directions and stuff like that. It was just this particular brand or something. It was for a helicopter company. And it was kind of important, and we were a little embarrassed on that. Of course we, didn't charge them to put the clear coat on because, we stand by our product and our applications. But, it's been, I think white's been the most frustrating. So people that are powder coating white, I hear you, like, I
Yeah.
understand, the struggles they have, and it can be problematic in terms of bringing that, black. Doesn't seem to have that. We never seem to have a problem with blacks and sheens and stuff like that. You know, as
Yeah, yeah,
opposed to other colors, right? So
that's true. Yeah, but the
yeah,
curing is really important. If you don't take care of your curing, you lost the transfer efficiency, the build film, on all the things that were paying attention during the application is gone if you don't pay attention, as I said,
Yeah.
to the curing time.
So one other thing to pay attention is going to be powder coating safety, and built into an operation, built into the industry, and it's all the coating industries are the same when it comes to a big emphasis and focus on safety. There are so many potential hazards and really risks associated with powder
Yeah.
coating. You have the potential for fire, explosion, inhalation, and skin contact. And so having proper PPE, just like Mario's showing there, you want to make sure you're able to protect the eyes and protect the lungs and everything like that. You
Yeah.
know, gloves, goggles, overalls, and things like that. How what are some of the, let's put it this way, in both of your experiences, what's probably the most important thing you would say to somebody when if they're looking to be an applicator, related to PPE? What kind of advice would you give them, if that makes sense?
What
I
about
mean,
Kim?
if
What about grounding in order to avoid the sparks and maybe cause an explosion? That's just something that I
yeah, that's
yeah, to
great.
have a perfect grounding, because sometimes when you are applying the powder, you can see some sparks because it's like an
right.
electric circuit. So it's really dangerous to have those sparks. So it's better to have a perfect grounding. If you have a perfect grounding, everything's going to be okay. So for me, two keys: pre-treatments and grounding, and the rest is
Yeah, I
piece of
mean, the
cake.
guns themselves are pretty, like, press the button kind of thing. Once you
Oh
get them
yeah,
all set up, it's just pretty much like, here you go, press this for that, press this for that, right? But I think to back it up just a little bit, you have it has to be about workforce, right? And the people that you
Yeah.
hire,
yep,
because there has to be some level of, you can have all these policies and all this stuff available to them, but if they don't have the common sense, you know uh,
yes,
I mean, if they don't have the common sense and that's what makes hiring so difficult, right? Because there are a lot of people out there that are not. We've lost our critical thinking a lot, probably because of devices. I don't know. That's a whole nother that's a whole nother corridor of topic. But how do you find somebody that doesn't have experience but has a common sense or some kind of basic understanding of how to operate things, and you could have all of that available to them in the world with the OSHA and this, and don't do this and don't do that and all that. But if the person doesn't have common sense, and I'll give you this. Ross was cleaning the booth. He just told me this story. Like, I'm not kidding you, like last night. He was vacuuming out because we have those in the booth, we have those deep weld filters now. They're not just the straight up panel ones like we used to have. Good luck with the common sense.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
And so he decided to vacuum out the right, and the booth is on, and it's got all the sucking and stuff like that, and all of a sudden he felt this overwhelming sense of static electricity in the air because he was right, because it was and he's realizing now, I am dustifying this powder. It's getting sucked into an electronic device, and so even understand, how do you explain to somebody what that static, you have to be having all five senses, right?
Yes.
So it's a 5 sense thing, and it's a common sense thing. And a lot of people just don't have that these days. A lot of I don't know if it's a generational thing. I don't know. So this is, my biggest, I guess, drum that I'm beating these days is workforce. How do we educate workforce? How do we quantify a qualified workforce? The greater industry people, and they've come on the show several times, discuss, we're just going to go to the colleges and well, your problem is different than coders and job shop owners. Okay. You're coming from a vendor point of view, and you're just looking for your next distributor or your next rep or manager or,
Yes.
Whatever. Okay. That's not our problem. We're not going to find those people in colleges. Okay. So I don't know what the answer is today, but, it's going to take a whole industry, a holistic approach to that. So that's all I have to say about PPE.
No, but that's true. It's common sense. I mean, if I have an electronic device or electric device that is throwing powder, I cannot touch the nozzle or the no. I mean, it's common sense, but as Kim says, I mean, it's part of the.
So don't do what Ross does.
Yes.
Moral of the story, right?
That's the safety. Yeah. That's the
Right.
toolbox talk for
but
today.
He put it together, right? But
Yeah.
it took 5 senses to do that. It took the he knows that buildup of the of this static feel. How do you teach somebody that? To be aware, have a level of awareness like that.
Perfect. We got about 5 minutes left, and before I do a closeout, what I wanted to do is make sure, related to any type of contact information for you both, and also the promotion you were talking about or the breaking news, Kim. So let's go ahead and go to you, Kim, first, because I'm very curious of what you're going to say.
Yes, me too. Let me take notes.
Well, first off, you can find us pretty much everywhere on the internet as far as the podcast is concerned. At Maui Powder Works, pretty much anywhere as far as the job shop is concerned. And we're, first of all, I'm going to be attending the Powder Coating Institute's Powder Week. So if you're in the area of Orlando, I believe it's March 11th, 12th, and 13th that week. I will be there. I'd love to meet you.
I'm not going.
It's a lot of fun, and I always meet new and interesting people. It gets me out of the house, out off the island, so to speak. So it's really nice to, kind of network with people and stuff like that. So I try to go as often as I can. And then the big announcement is that we are too going live on March 1st. And this is going to be a deep dive live forum with 6 coders.
Good.
We're still debating on topics. The topics that we have come up with could easily be a live show each. And I was just thinking about that today, going, wow, how are, look, we've talked, we've gone on all different journeys.
Do a series. Do a series.
Yeah, I mean, it could
That's
just
good.
be one topic for each
Sounds
one,
good.
because I was going to try to cram it all in. You know me, I like to add it all and just do as many little tricks and stuff and fun and have as much fun as possible. But, in just talking how we've talked, and it's taken an hour, it's easy to just do one topic. So, it's always been the podcast's point of view to share people's stories and journeys. And so that's what this is going to be about. All of these gentlemen have been on the show before, but not shared their own personal experiences and talked expertise and problem solving in their industry, but not like talked about themselves in their own personal stories and journeys. So I think it's going to be a great first live for sure.
Could you add a section like tips for powder coating to them, like at the end, or I don't know?
Add at the end,
Could you give a tip to the audience or somebody?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have Chrome horror stories for sure. As a kind of, everybody's got their own Chrome horror story, but I'm really looking forward to this. March 1st. Just go to the rosscoat.com, which is the website for our podcast. You can Google the Powder Coater podcast too as well. And in the top menu, it says live events, and you can just sign up there. So we're going to have giveaways as well. So we're, trying to kind of get everybody going and stuff, some swag. And much more than that. We actually have some vendors that are going to be donating a bunch of stuff to the success of this. So Q&A, all that, we'll try to get it all. We're going to try to fit it all in. It's a 2-hour thing. It's a 2-hour thing. So I'm just grateful that these gentlemen that are on the level of Ross are going to, to start sharing their mastery with us, so I'm very grateful to them as well, because they are masters in what they do.
Yeah, it's important for the industry to do things like this. So thank you to you and Ross for doing this, and everyone also to it's participating with you both. So Mario, how can people get in contact with you, follow you, all that kind of good stuff?
Well, actually, through my LinkedIn page, you can find Mario Quiseno Powder Coating, and boom, you can add me or follow me. I am writing constantly information about powder coating. Now I'm just focused in Spanish for my community, because there are not a lot of information in Spanish about powder coating. So I'm going to transfer all the knowledge, all my research to the Spanish community. And somebody says that preheat the oven is a key to have a queue. That person is right. It's good to preheat the oven.
Yeah.
Oh, that one. Yeah, it's
Good
critical.
point.
And always have a backup PID.
Oh, yes.
Never be caught without a PID, right?
Yeah.
So that's a key one there, because the last thing you want is for something to go horribly wrong and not have the minimum you need to keep going. No matter if you're on an island or you're just across town, it's still downtime. You still have to
Yes.
order it.
Yeah.
And also, I've noticed that there's been a lot of disruption in equipment. We were more concerned about powder disruption during COVID and chemistry and chemicals and stuff like that. But I mean, here's another topic to talk about with you, Jim. Is how much equipment is costing these days, and not to mention shipping going up, but also equipment availability too.
Yeah.
There are things that are harder and harder to get these days. So there you go. I just came up with the next topic.
Yeah. Sounds like the alarm's going off for the oven. You better check
Oh
your oven,
yes,
Mario.
yes. Actually, I'm
Are you
preparing
powder coating in the
lasagna.
kitchen?
I'm preparing lasagna. Yeah, I have
Oh, yummy.
some friends that are coming in an hour, so we are going to eat lasagna, spicy lasagna.
Excellent.
Love it.
Kim, thank you for your
Aw,
podcasts.
it's so nice to
Thank
meet you.
you, Jim. Also, I have learned a lot, and thank you. I was
Yeah.
really sad when you stopped doing it, but it was a reason, right? But
There were
it's
lots of reasons, but
yeah,
yeah.
it's a lot of reason.
Yeah,
It
I
just
was
seemed
kind of
like, yeah.
Yeah, I was having withdrawals myself. I was getting ready to like call you up and see what was going on, but you were dealing with Lahaina. I mean, the fires. I mean, my goodness, the stuff that everyone on the island's going through.
I just,
So
I cried once on Instagram live, so I
Yeah.
figured people didn't want to continue to hear me cry. you know,
yeah,
and it's still a daily thing. Having to deal with everything that's gone on this island. I'm happy that we've sort of rebounded. Things got a little slower. It was almost like our 9/11,
Yeah.
where like after
Yeah.
9/11, people just didn't want to participate in anything, or were distracted by the news or whatever. And it was like a lot like that. And then we're like, are we going to survive? And it's coming back now. We're really, really positive. And of course,
Good.
the building that's going to go on this island is going to be insane when it starts to go off. So it's going to take us a little while to get to that point, but they've got it all staged out and stuff. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Kim, I wrote you in all the platforms. Are you okay? What happened? Are you okay? Please answer me. Like, yeah, she answers.
Yeah,
6 months
I
later.
didn't realize like how and I don't want to get too deep here, but when you realize, and it's a very hard feeling to kind of put in your mind, when you realize that the place that you grew up in, that you have all your memories. I raised my kids there. I grew up there. I had done, Ross grew up there. When you realize that it doesn't exist anymore,
Yeah,
it's a very unusual feeling, because you almost question whether or not your memories are real. Like, did that really happen? And I got really, obviously I'm getting philosophical about it now, but how do you cope with that? And I think the people that are living there are sort of, in a sense, in a bubble, because everybody else on Maui is just humming along, going to work, doing their thing. And yet there's these people that are still here clinging on in West Maui that, are going through their own unique experience that is so far, and it's going to be generational for them. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
but thank you for missing me. I'm back now. I'm back now. Yes, I'm back now.
Okay, well, as I'm heading out, let me mention that Coatings Talk has a LinkedIn group, and we're building a very strong community for the coatings and the corrosion industry, and for professionals and really others that support both industries. This community's purpose is to share members' experiences, their expertise, information, knowledge, passion, and skills, and more. So please join the Coatings Talk community, and I'm looking forward to working with new members like you. Join me next time as I continue our Coatings Talk to dive deeper into topics such as coatings technology, surface preparation, coating application, corrosion control, corrosion protection, quality inspection, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the Coatings Talk channel on YouTube to stay updated on the latest episodes. And I greatly appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more exciting content on the amazing global protective coatings and corrosion industries. Okay, thank you, and please have a great afternoon, evening, or morning, no matter where in the world you're coming from. Kim, thank you. Mario, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Forgive me for my English, but it's okay.
Oh, you were
It's
fine.
understandable, yeah.
Perfect. You were
Oh,
perfect.
no, it was fine.
Okay,
And
thank
I
you.
appreciate you guys so much. And thank you, Jim. I look forward to having you on my show soon.
Yeah, we could talk about right to repair.
Yeah, right to repair. We'll continue beating that drum and so much more, right?
Okay. Thank you, everybody.